All right.
Hi, Bree. Can you
Hi.
check in and make sure we can hear you?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect.
So, John Steele is also to attend tonight. I talked to him earlier today, so he should be here. Other than that, we do not have Kirsten, our chair. So we're at the beginning of the meeting. We need to select someone to run the meeting. We have 3 people in chambers and 2 people online, and John will probably member Steele will probably be online as well. And you know what, on the agenda we did not include introducing the new members, so that's something we also probably want to do at the very beginning as well. So introduce the new members and select the chair to run the meeting, and then we'll get started with our quasi-judicial hearing. All right, members, do we want to get started with the meeting? I don't see John Steele in the meeting yet, but do we want to introduce our new members first? Okay, we have 2 new HRB members, Jim Edwards and Aurelia. Okay, Aurelia Rohrbach. Okay, I apologize for not doing your name well at all. Jim, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm happy to be here next to Aurelia so she can tell me to turn on my microphone. I'm Jim Edwards, 30-year plus resident of West Linn, and my kids grew up here and went to West Linn High School, and they're 34 years old now. So I'm happy to be here.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, Aurelia.
Hello, I'm Aurelia Rohrbacher. I grew up in West Linn, went to West Linn High School. I live really close to the historic Arch Bridge, so I walk around that area all the time. I went to architecture school at Portland State University, and then throughout all my 20s, I moved around and worked in architecture firms in New York City and San Francisco and Christchurch, New Zealand. And then about 7 years ago, I came back to West Linn, started working at an architecture firm in Portland, and then for myself. I am on the board of the Advocates for Willamette Falls Heritage with Jim. He is the vice president, and I am the secretary at the moment. And yeah, excited to get involved.
Well, welcome. We're glad to have a full HRB. We don't usually meet in this room. This is just for a quasi judicial hearing, and this is we're jumping right in with the tough stuff. So tonight we have a quasi judicial hearing that we'll have our planner Aaron Goodell will do a presentation, and then we'll have the applicant do a presentation, and you guys will make a quasi judicial decision. Do you have any questions on the process? Okay, go ahead.
We will be deciding whether or not it's approved tonight, or is that happening at a different time? Like amongst us, will there be deliberations like up here?
Yes.
And then we say, okay, we unanimously say yes or no. There's no like separate room where that happens.
Well, yes, the intent is to make it to hear the testimony, hear the application, deliberate and make a decision. But as decision makers, if you want information, you can always ask for a continuation and seek more information. But the intent is to try and do it all in one night. But
okay,
any questions you can ask along the way, and if you need more time, or if we can do that. I should introduce Steve Coper, our community development director. And he's going to be the expert on the process if you have any questions.
Yes, thank you. Lynn summarized it well.
All right, we have John Steele in the house. Well, I should say we're stalling for a little bit of time because our planner had a very packed day today, and he forgot to produce one document that's needed, which is the script. So he's running that off right now. And but in the meantime, we have 6 board members present, and so we should do the roll call. So roll call. Let's begin here. Member Rohrbacher. Okay, yes.
So here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Member Edwards.
Here.
Member Manning.
Present.
Member Steele.
Present.
Member Bogard.
Present.
Member Steele.
Present.
Member Salty.
Here.
Okay. And now can we have a discussion among the members about who they would like to take on running the meeting tonight?
Does anybody want to take on running the meeting tonight? I would. I'm trying to leave early. I'm trying to get to baseball practice, otherwise I would.
Member Manning, would you like to step in? Member Manning has been a chair in the past, so he knows the deal. Okay, well, thank you. We appreciate you stepping in. The next order of business would be approval of the minutes for May 14th, 2016. Have people had a chance to review the minutes? Any
I reviewed, but I wasn't present.
Okay. Does anybody want to move to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
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 Okay, we have it passed 501, which is 5 approved, 1 no nays, and 1 abstention. Right. Okay, I think we're going to need to do a brief recess while we wait for our planner to come back. You know what, maybe what I can do is move up the staff announcements to this portion. I wanted to let you know that the last meeting you did have you did make a recommendation to have the Bolton Primary School listed on the National Register. Our recommendation was sent to the state board. The state board held a hearing on the nomination, and at the meeting, the school district had submitted a review by a professional consulting historian on whether or not the school meets the criteria of National Register status. The school district's consultant concluded that the Bolton School was not adequately the nomination did not adequately address National Register criteria, and they requested that it not be moved forward. And at the time, the decision of the state board advisory board was to table the nomination to allow the applicant more time to prepare additional discussions on a comparative analysis, to put old photos and a photo map, and then also to address the integrity of the window replacement, the entry remodel, and the roof forms and monitors, and to address the fire damage that was done in 1979. So at this time, she can take it back and and make changes and resubmit it. It would come to us again as another hearing, I believe. So that's where we're at.
Is that published somewhere, Lynn? Can we read what they sent back?
The state hearing is published, but they haven't done the minutes yet.
Okay.
But if you want to view what the school district wrote, yes, I can see if I can get a copy of that and send to you.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That would
Okay.
be great. I'd love to see it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all my staff announcements.
Oh,
go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
John.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Finish up. I just had a question. Is the school district was, and maybe you don't know this, but the school district at the hearing was objecting or just saying, well, I don't think that they've met the standards yet. My question really revolves around, is this going back to the beginning again, or just saying, oh, if we supplement our findings and resolve the questions from the district, they're not opposing it, or, well, question, are they or are they not opposing it to try and stop it, or just, oh, we really think you need to add a little more to make it legitimate? Or do you have any sense?
There was testimony from Remo Douglas at the school district. And they did not support the nomination, but the consultants had specific felt that the nomination was deficient in several ways, and that the advisory board asked the nominator to go back and make changes to the nomination to address the deficiencies of the nomination. And if those are addressed, and she makes changes, it can still be nominated.
Okay, so this is really more of a process issue than some sort of controversy. Or do you don't have to speculate if you
Yeah,
don't want to. Okay.
Want to speculate. Okay. All right, I'll turn it over to James Manning to run the quasi judicial meeting. And Associate Planner Aaron Goodell.
All right. Good evening. Tonight, we're holding a public hearing regarding application number HRD 25-03 for a Class 2 design review and at 1225 13th Street. The proposal is for the conversion of an existing eligible contributing barn to an accessory dwelling unit and a 320-foot addition. Unlike in legislative hearings where personal opinion may come into play, quasi-judicial rulings must be grounded to the relevant code, and if the application meets the code, the HRB must approve it. The hearing will proceed as follows. After the preliminary legal matters, staff will make a presentation, followed by the applicant, then by anyone who wishes to testify will be given an opportunity. Finally, there will be time for rebuttal by the applicant. The applicant will have 20 minutes initially plus 15 minutes of rebuttal. All requests to speak during the public testimony have been received. Commission members may ask questions of the applicant, staff, or anyone else who testifies. If participating remotely, please remember to use the hand icon if you wish to ask questions. Please keep yourself on mute until you're ready to speak so everyone is heard clearly. I now call the public hearing to order and ask the city attorney to cover preliminary legal matters. Attorney tonight, right?
That would be, who's going to cover the preliminary legal matters?
Should be Steve.
Sure, I can read it in. Thank you, Acting Chair. The applicant has the burden of proving that the application is consistent with the City of Westland's Community Development Code, Comprehensive Plan, and any municipal code provisions. The criteria that must be addressed in this hearing are Chapter 25, Historic Districts, Chapter 34, Accessory Dwelling Units, Chapter 99, Procedures for Decision-Making, Quasi-Judicial. As the Historic Review Board is sitting quasi-judicially, any testimony, argument, or evidence that the speakers give to the board must be directed at these criteria or some other criteria in the Community Development Code or Comprehensive Plan, which they believe should apply to this decision. Only those who have provided testimony to the Historic Review Board in person or in writing will have standing to appeal this item to the Planning Commission. If you have provided written testimony or previous oral testimony to the Historic Review Board, you do not need to read your written testimony or repeat previous oral testimony. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to allow the board and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues related to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the city or its designee to respond to this issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. I'm going to read a few statements about conflicts, ex parte contacts, and challenges. Do any members of the board wish to declare a potential or actual conflict of interest or bias? Seeing none in person or online. Do any members of the board wish to report any site visits or other ex parte contacts? Seeing none in person or online. Does any member of the audience wish to challenge the jurisdiction of the Historic Review Board to hear this matter or the impartiality or ex parte disclosures of any members of the board? Seeing none in the audience or online. Acting Chair, that concludes the legal matters.
Thank you. So staff report and presentation.
Yes,
Aaron?
thank you, Acting Chair Manning. Pull up the presentation while I talk here. So tonight, we're here for a Class 2 Historic Design Review at 1225 13th Street for the Britton Barn. The applicant wishes to convert the barn to a habitable dwelling, an accessory dwelling unit, and add 320 square feet to the barn. Just a second. Okay. So this is, as I stated before, this is a Class 2 Historic Design Review. The Historic Review Board here is the deciding authority tonight. So a decision, if you feel like the criteria are met, a decision can be made. So the code criteria are Chapter 25, the overlay zones of the Historic District, Chapter 34, discussing accessory structures and accessory dwelling units, and Chapter 99, the procedures for decision-making quasi-judicial. And just a reminder that every application we get has a 120-day review period upon completeness, meaning that the city has to make a final decision on the application. So for this application, that final decision date is September 15th, 2026. I'll remind you of that in case this hearing has to be continued. We'll just keep that date in mind as we schedule sort of future hearing dates. Okay. Thank you, Lynn. So here's, this is a map of where the project is located. So it's within the historic district, the Willamette Historic District. It's a unique sort of property. The shape of it, as you can see, is kind of, I'd say, two triangles. So the barn is actually located on that northern triangle, and it's within the Willamette Historic District. Actually, the remainder of the property on that bottom triangle there is actually outside of the historic district. It's not particularly relevant to this application, but just thought I would mention it. Okay. Thanks, Lynn. So just some history about the barn itself. So the barn was originally located at 1739 Dollar Street, and it was relocated in 1993 to its current location. And the relocation was approved through a similar meeting such as this, a historic review process back in 1991, and then ultimately led to the moving of the barn in 1993. That decision is included in the staff report for your reference. And then also, city records also indicate that the barn was originally located on the neighboring lot to the east, which is 1296 12th Street. There was a property line adjustment in 2023 that located the barn on its current address location, which is 1225 13th Street. And the reason why this is particularly relevant is in the city records and the historic documents, the history of the property is more tied to the previous address at 1296 12th Street. So if you see that in the documents, it's because the address and the ownership has changed of this barn since 2023. All right, so the applicant tonight is proposing to convert the existing Britton barn at 13th Street to an accessory dwelling unit. They seek to add 320 square feet of habitable space. Currently, the barn is just a one-story barn, as you would assume, and they seek to add an addition onto the side of it, and then also add a second sort of loft level inside the barn. So the applicant proposes to replace the windows, the sidings, new patio doors, and then in addition, a covered entrance, and as I said, a second level loft space, as well as a ground level deck on the south side of the barn. So the approval criteria tonight is primarily Chapter 25, the historic district code. The majority of findings that staff had made, you can find in findings 6 through 23 of the staff report. So the applicant has stated that the existing building is showing substantial wear and tear, and reuse of existing materials will be facilitated as much as practically feasible. So new building elements that the applicant proposes would incorporate the original construction and then modernize the building up to current building and safety codes. And one finding that I'd like to point out is finding number 20, dealing with porches. So in the historic district, if a property does not have a front porch, there's a sentence in our code that doesn't allow them to add a front porch. So this building does not have an existing front porch, and they're proposing to add a front porch. And the way that staff views it is because it was previously a non-habitable structure, and now it would be converted to a habitable structure, that these requirements would not necessarily apply, and that the covered entryway for weather protection and such is critical to the building, and the proposal would meet the criteria. So just to point that out in the staff report. Okay. And then I'll show you some existing photos here that the applicant had provided of the barn. So this is the north and south elevations. As you can see, the siding there and the windows and the gable at the top. These are all elements that are proposed to be retained, and the scale of them is to be retained. As previously stated, the applicant says that existing siding will be used when practically feasible, and the windows will be replaced to be up to current building and safety code standards. There's no change in the number of windows that are proposed as part of this. And then we'll have some more pictures of the east and west elevations just to show the existing condition of the barn. So here's the east and west side. So on your left-hand side is that front, what would be the front area, the front porch area of the building. So the applicant is proposing just a small overhang and just an entry porch just to elevate up to the level of the living space in the barn. Okay. Good. And then here are the floor plans that are proposed. So on the left-hand side, you'll see a darker shade of black, essentially, and that is the additional portion of the barn, and then the light gray is the existing footprint of the barn. So just to give you a sense of the scale of the proposed addition and the general layout of the floor plans. Okay. And then some elevations to give you some context here. As you can see, on that south elevation is the southern deck that will essentially be on the side of the property. And then on that east elevation shows that front porch that I've been referring to here. Okay, and just a point of reference and just a note here is that the building height and the scale of the building is not proposed to change. The building height is somewhere around 25 feet. There's not exact measurements provided, but no height change is proposed as part of this. Okay, and then these are some renderings that the applicant provided to give you just an idea of the intent of the conversion here. Okay. And so as of tonight, we haven't received any public comments, and we haven't received, doesn't look like we will be receiving any comments here tonight. If we do, then those will be included in the record. And just wanted to reiterate the 120-day final decision matter, which is on September 15th, 2026. I'm happy to answer any questions about the board's role here tonight, any questions about the application. After this, the applicant will come and talk about the project and present the project, and you can ask the applicant questions as well during that time. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the report or any of the findings if you did have any. Yes, Member Steele?
In the material that I was provided, what pages were the pictures you were showing? All of the material you showed, what pages was that in what we were given?
Sure, it's part of the applicant submittal. I'll give you the pages of the staff report.
Okay,
So it's, they probably began on page 46 of the staff report. And so those 46 through 50 looks like the existing photos.
yeah, give me just a second to catch up. You said we start on 46.
46, yeah. And then I went backwards for you. The renderings, the renderings are on page 34 and 35.
Okay,
And then those floor plans that were part of the presentation are on page 32 of the staff report. All kind of within the same 15-page range there.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so everything you showed, excuse me, everything you presented is basically between 32 and 45.
Correct. And
Well,
then
not
there's,
basically everything you showed is in between 32 and
there's
45.
some other things that the applicant provided. There's some sections, some building sections. There's also a rendering of the inside that's shown. There's some details in, let's see, this is page
Well, okay.
43 that details some of the lighting and proposed siding that
Okay,
the,
no, I guess I didn't state my question properly. Everything you said is in here. There may be additional material. Everything you displayed is in the
correct,
document.
yeah, those, that was.
That's what I was asking about. Where are those pages? The fact that additional stuff is there is great, but
Yeah,
so-
no, there was, as part of my presentation, there was no new information. It was, everything that I presented was in the staff report. And there are, like you had stated, there's some additional things that maybe weren't in the presentation that's part of the applicant's submittal.
right,
that are in
okay,
there.
which I would expect, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Acting Chair Manning, we have Dan Salty would like to ask a question.
Yeah, just, so it seems like staff is recommending the approval with two conditions. The first being exterior lighting, and it says must comply with applicable community development requirements. And then the second is the final planning review. For the lighting, is there something that you guys are showing or that's being shown that doesn't currently meet the criteria, or is this just kind of a blanket statement?
The applicant really didn't provide specifics. Yeah, it's more of a blanket statement to answer your question. There wasn't specifics as to the design of the lighting, so that was a condition that we are recommending here tonight.
And the final planning approval, you just have somebody from the staff go down there and check before occupancy, right?
Yeah, we'll verify predominantly any conditions of approval that would be set here tonight. Any other conditions or that are necessary for building code requirements, it would just be a planning staff member, a community development member that just goes down and verifies that they were constructed or installed, up to the standard of whatever the condition is.
Okay. And I think one more question. Did staff provide elevation feedback to the applicant, or is that just from the applicant?
I'm not sure I quite understand you when you say elevation feedback. Could you?
So I guess I'll just get to the point. There's a folly window called out on the south elevation. Is that something that staff asked for, or is that something the applicant just provided?
Did you say what kind of window? I'm sorry.
I believe it's called out as a folly window, Folly. I believe it's a faux window. It's on the south elevation.
The where the sign is proposed? That would, to answer your question, that wasn't a staff recommendation. That's just, this is the applicant's proposal. So this is what they're seeking to do. So if you did,
Perfect.
if you had any comments on that, you could comment on that during deliberations, but that was not something that staff particularly recommended.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any
Okay.
other questions? No?
Okay.
Okay. So applicant presentation, there's no questions, so let's move on to that. You have 20 minutes if you'd like to come up and speak.
Make sure to press the green button.
Can you hear me?
And tell us who you are.
My name is Laura Scott, and this is my husband Clement. We have been, can you hear me okay? No. The light's on. Yeah, but you need to get close. Is that better? Not much? What about online? Is that okay?
We can hear you online if that makes any difference.
I'll just speak up. We have lived in Westland for about almost 15 years. Our child went to Westland High, just graduated a year ago. And we love living in Willamette. We've been there for about 12, well, we've been there the whole time that we've lived here, but we've lived in our house now for about 12 years. We are close to our neighbors. We, all of our neighbors on that particular block especially. And having that structure, that barn in our view for many years. It's hidden now. We can't see it anymore from our back bedroom, but we've enjoyed it and we know that it is part of our community. It is something that people can see as they walk or drive by, and we would like to preserve it and maintain it and create a single unit dwelling. And the intention is for my mom to take up residence there. So that's our plan.
I suppose a little bit of history how we came ownership of the barn. We're friends, neighbor Jody Carson was the original owner of the barn, and she approached neighbors about doing a lot line adjustment to divide her property. One of the reasons at the time for that was that the property was kind of too large for her to kind of continue to maintain. And we kind of showed interest in the barn and the property itself. And it was also the interest is to kind of preserve the barn in its kind of scale and character. But at the same time, making it a kind of a livable space. And that's why the changes that we are proposing, it's mainly to make it kind of just like a functional living space, but kind of preserving the overall height and scale of the building and not changing too much. It still looks like the barn. That's our main design goal with the project. Yeah. Yeah. And you wrote a nice paragraph. You need to read that paragraph. Laura's a writer, by the way. She's an English writer, so she wrote nice.
Well, okay. I'll just read it quickly. When we moved into our family home on 13th Street 12 years ago, we noticed a barn visible from our bedroom. It was red, charming, and had a Cocopelli weather vane on the top. And we liked having it there. All of these things are still true, although the vegetation behind our house has grown with our time here and it's no longer visible from our top floor. We suspect that our neighbors, as I mentioned, like having it there too, and we are happy to propose that as its newest stewards, we maintain it by keeping it, creatively conserving it, and converting it to a single unit dwelling for our family to expand into. And again, I mentioned ideally for my mom.
Yeah.
There will be some changes to enable this to happen, but most of it will remain, including the current red hue and the cocopelli.
Yeah.
So that's the plan.
That's the plan. And there's a lot there too, which is kind of nice. My background is landscape architecture. I'm a landscape architect and my wife likes to grow. So one of the long-term goals too is that, the barn becomes part of a garden setting, both within maybe, vegetable gardening and also landscape. Yeah. That's long-term plan for the barn. Yeah.
So anybody have any questions for the applicant? I have a couple. Access to the barn will come off of 13th Street, not off of any other way, or how will
Oh,
your
yeah.
mother get to the barn?
It's 4th Avenue. So when we did the lot line adjustment with Jody, we have a 10-foot kind of
Easement up?
easement up
Okay.
to 4th Avenue. So that would be the access to the barn.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's also a side gate. Well, also you can get from our house, obviously the back of our house, but there will be access on 4th Avenue.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then unrelated question, what happened to the log cabin that was inside the barn?
Oh, but the wood is still there, actually. Still have it.
What are you gonna do with that?
I have no idea. I'm open to ideas. Yeah.
I mean, some of it could be incorporated into the interior, potentially. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I suppose my thinking was to hold on to it because I'm not sure what to do with it. Maybe we'll use it during construction or if somebody else has ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's still there. The wood is still there. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah. So you've been in the barn and you've seen all that wood. Yeah.
I was in the barn when I was on Britton Avenue on Dollar Street, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
That
and-
barn is still there. The wood from that barn is still there.
Yep,
Yeah.
and where Jody lives, that was my great grandmother's house.
Yes, that's what she
Grandparents'
said.
house, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Very
All right.
cool.
Those are my questions.
Yeah.
Can I ask architect questions real quick?
Yeah.
So you do have, I kind of mentioned it, you have a call out on one of your plans that says there's a folly window. And then on another set of elevations, it looks like there is going to be a sign there. And I just
Yeah,
want to see what
so-
the intent was.
Yeah, the reason for that is we wanted to keep the same original layout of the windows,
Mhm.
but that window, which is a folly window, is where the structural
Right.
wall of the existing barn is. So you can't really have a window there. So basically, we're just giving a folly of a window, and we were put the name of the barn on that window. So it's come down to this, the structure of the barn. It doesn't make sense to have a window there.
Sure. So I'll probably I was looking at your interior too, and it looks like to the left of it, you have two other windows on that same south elevation, on the first floor and the second floor. And I'm sorry, I had to look, but it looks like that's probably where you want to put a mirror on the interior of where the sink is. And I would just question if you really want those windows or not. I would have it either way. Like it doesn't make any, I think either way, it looks historically fine, in my opinion. This is my opinion, right? But it's kind of just really up to you, and I just want to make sure you guys get the best use out of what your proposal and your design is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking notes.
Does that comment make sense? So
Yeah.
your bathroom, right? Where your folly window is, it's above on the second floor, it's above the toilet. And then the one left of it is above your sink, which usually you throw a mirror there. So it may be a challenge to do that. And then you have the same kind of condition at the bottom as well.
I see. Okay.
But I don't think these are historical. Like I would approve it either way.
Yeah.
It's just really for you.
I think that's very helpful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Can I kind of second that? Because this was a barn, I was looking at it and feeling kind of in a similar way because usually barns are so functional that they're just popping windows here and there just for functionality, not so much for symmetry. So it's all sort of in keeping to have some mismatchy symmetry on a barn.
Okay.
Yeah, it's post and beam construction, so kind of the windows are symmetrical inside of that barn right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think it looks good, really. The elevations are misleading, I should say, not confusing on your photos too, because it looks like it's a ground level when really the south side is up quite a bit higher. Even the north side is probably what, the floor level will be 2 feet above ground, probably.
It is
Yeah, and it's-
elevated. Yeah. Mhm.
So that'd be kind of my only concern is the porch that you put on the south side will kind of be sticking up, right?
Well, the land is actually higher at that southern side. It kind of rolls up, it slopes up to the barn.
Okay,
So it is elevated up to the barn there.
Okay.
So it's not like we'd be putting on a massive deck, not like that. The land actually just rises up in that
rises up
barn.
there. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And yeah, the width of that kind of patio that we have off those French doors kind of works with the existing grade there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for your
All right,
time.
good luck.
Yeah.
We'll open up for public testimony. Lynn?
Acting Chair Manning, we have Jody Carson here to give public testimony.
Good evening, members of the Historic Review Board. I'm Jody Carson, and I'm the prior owner of this structure. And I'm very supportive of this application. There's a couple of comments I'd like to make. One, I have encouraged the applicant to take the 2 larger doors that are on the north side and reuse them as part of the southern side, I believe, is where they talked about putting them next to their French doors, just to try to keep that barn flavor, since I don't know, I've been trying to remember if those were the actual doors or they were doors that we'd seen in pictures, because the barn, when we moved it from its location, there was one wall that was gone. So we really encourage the applicants to, I really would like to see them reuse as much of the wood as possible, because much of the wood came from the original barn. Members of the neighborhood actually took down the barn, numbered all the boards. The city gave us a truck to haul it over to its new location, and neighborhood helped reconstruct the barn. And so a lot of the wood is old. The windows and the frames are in bad shape, and those are new wood. They don't hold up as well. And there's other parts of the barn that is newer wood, so I know that needs to be replaced. But I encourage them to reuse as much of the wood as possible. And the only other thing that I really would like to comment on, which is not in the code anywhere, but there is a very old madrone next to the new proposed addition. And I would really encourage them to do everything they can to save that, because it's a really wonderful old tree, and it's survived being split, but it's actually done quite well in the last few years. So if they can save that, I would encourage them to do that as well. So those are the only 2 things. I really support them doing this. I'd always thought that my husband and I would do that, but it just isn't feasible for me to do it myself. So I'm really glad to see someone who's willing to take this on. And I do know they have all that wood that used to be in the barn from the old Fields house. But anyway, thank you very much. And do you have any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Jody. Any questions up here for Jody or anybody? No?
I just want to say that the application was very thorough, and And I've read through the entire application and the staff report, and I was very satisfied with the detail.
Any, John?
Yeah, I guess could be for planning or the applicants. My experience in barns is they don't have plumbing, or they certainly don't have plumbing as a living dwelling does. So what sewer, water, et cetera, where is that coming from? And
The specifics of it is probably better for the applicant, but there's all of the surrounding streets, Tualatin Avenue, 12th, 13th. They all have available utilities that they can access
yeah.
at the street.
okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't quite clear. I assumed, yeah, that the utilities are there. How do they intend, where do they intend to hook up? How much are they going to have to dig, et cetera, to run a sewer line and water lines and so on? Are they going across their property? Are they going to drop right to 12th if that worked? Again, I don't, for sewer purposes, obviously, you have to have it go downhill.
Yeah, and the main sewer trunk is on
Is on 12th.
12th River Drive right there.
Okay,
It goes
so,
down, so they dig 60 feet maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just right from the street, and they would dig on their property if they had to, if for some reason the line is askew and on someone else's property, they would need, that property owner's permission to do it. But given that this property has access along all three streets, 4th, 13th, and Tualatin, I would assume that they can access the utilities without impacting neighboring properties.
I guess that's it, is the kind of absolute, as a sewer, you are limited on what direction you have to go, but that there would be the absolute minimum digging up, et cetera, for facilities there. And electrical is, I'm familiar with the actual location of this. I'm not at all familiar. Is there electricity already into, or maybe it would have to be upgraded as a dwelling unit?
I believe there's electrical going to the barn right now, and Clement, if you
Okay,
can answer these questions, maybe
Okay,
you would
if
be
you can
better
answer-
prepared to do
But
that.
is it electrical sufficient?
No.
Okay, that's what I would think. It wouldn't be sufficient for a house to be there.
And the electrical actually used to come from Jody's
Yeah.
box, not.
Yeah.
They have an extension cord from Jody's house out to the.
So no, there's no power, there's nothing at that barn at the moment. So we would, part of the building permit application, we would have to submit a utility plan and figure out how we get power and water sewer to that barn.
Okay.
So that was part of my original question with access. It wasn't just
Yeah.
people access to the barn.
Yeah.
You know, the power, is it going to come off of 4th? Is it going to come off of 13th? Is it going to come off of Tualatin?
Yeah.
You know, those are questions actually that we don't need to know.
Yeah.
That'll be before.
Yeah, I suppose
The city and planning.
I suppose I'd be, they're kind of building permit questions in many way. And I have ideas where I think it should come from, but in the end, I'd be kind of working with the City of West Linn Planning Department and is it utilities? Do you have utilities department or Public Works? Yeah, Public Works, and I'd be going with their recommendations. Yeah.
Right.
But obviously I'd be looking for the less impact, less costs and working with the Public Works on the best solution. Yeah.
Great. And just to kind of reiterate, the access to utilities surrounds the property. This is an entirely urbanized area.
Yeah.
And all of the sewer and electrical and so on is accessible from the street there. There are some properties where there would be substantial, digging that would have to occur, but with this property being, in an urbanized area, there's already established utilities there.
Yeah, and I guess my bigger concern, yeah, I understand that getting utilities there is not a big problem to solve. I guess my concern is getting utilities there, water and sewer are clearly going to be underground. I would hope that the consideration is to put power underground as well. So we don't now have power lines going to what you applaud the attempt. Let's keep it looking historical. And so we don't have, big power lines draping into the top of the building, but run it underground, which unless it's solid rock, again, I don't know the geology there, but that's my interest in that. However, we need to craft it is to keep the ground level. Yeah, it's going to be disturbed when you dig it, but you can return it to just ground around it. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on that issue of utilities, not
I
a
would.
power line draped across.
Yeah, I would agree. Where would we do less impact and restore any disturbance to the utilities to the.
Just as
Yeah.
you're,
Mhm.
I think it's clear. That, to me, destroys the idea of keeping it looking historic. We drape a power line to it.
Yeah.
So, but you can hide that as well.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we kind of went into the rebuttal of the applicant and questions of staff. So is there any more questions for the applicant or for staff at this point? No? Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing. Okay. So deliberations. Does any HRB member wish to comment or make a recommendation or a motion? Go ahead.
Okay. Going back to the issue of porches, there was a part in the report that I read that said, although in the code it says no porches are allowed for a historic structure that didn't already have one, you are requesting one, and that it would be in keeping with porches of houses in the neighborhood, which brought to mind that it's not a house, it's a barn. And by adding a porch and an awning makes it look like a house, which changes its identity. I'm not necessarily going to use that to hold up the whole process, but I do see a house now when I look at it instead of a barn. And so I do recognize that you need steps up to the door because it's elevated. So obviously you need some sort of a platform. I think it's the awning that's giving the appearance of cottage instead of barn. So if it were me, I would prefer for the porches to not have such large awnings. And the other sort of architectural suggestion I was going to make, which is just sort of going off of what Jody said about trying to keep the original or what might be the original barn doors. Obviously, you can't use them like they are functionally. There's a huge gap at the bottom that's not weather safe. So the only way I can see to have them on the exterior still is if you infill that with cladding and then pop it on the top sort of decoratively. And there isn't a very obvious place to do that, except for I found a spot that I think would look nice, but it's not up to me. But you could replace the window. You could fill in that window that's being proposed by the stairs and pop the barn doors there, because you don't need that window for light since it's open to the rest of the space, which is pretty small, and there's windows all around. And you could also keep the spacing of those barn doors from the edge of the building the same that it was on the edge currently, which now kind of sits, where it is currently kind of sits in the middle of the building, which is a little odd. So that's just an idea to sort of satisfy some of those. The awnings, I guess, sort of bother me, but I'm not gonna say no. I think, we still need to make it habitable for humans, but I think if it were me, I'd rather have the awnings. There's a teeny tiny one that exists right now, and there's an arrow pointing to it that says like weathered wood. So I bet it needs to be replaced. But something similar to that profile would be more historically accurate while still modernizing the layout for human use.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, we can do questions, comments, and motions. Was your comment for the applicant or for staff, or just a comment as yourself? Because technically it should be a comment just as you saying, because we've closed the hearing. And at this point, we'd have to reopen the hearing to have either Aaron or the applicant.
Yeah, I don't need feedback. It's just comments
Okay,
myself.
all right.
Yep. Mhm.
All right, thank you. So to your comment, from my perspective, and I think from the city staff perspective, I'll put words in his mouth if it isn't. This is being more considered as a new construction, not the renovation of a historic structure, because the historic structure was a barn and now this is becoming a house. So as far as porches and windows and everything that we would worry about if this was a current home, we're really not worried about it in this case. Would that be correct? Ish? Okay. All right.
Well, I think the code, I work in architecture, so I have
Yep.
to analyze code all the time. It says what it says. It's just a sentence. So it's open to interpretation, right? So it says where there isn't a porch, there should not be. But of course, we
Yeah.
can interpret it multiple ways. Yes, it used to be a barn for storage. Now humans will be there. They probably would like to not get rained on while they entered their house. Like, I completely understand that. Architecture's for humans. They should enjoy the space. It's just, I think it changes the visual identity more so than any of the other additions proposed. And I don't know if I'm using that to hold up the process. That's just where I'm coming from. Mhm.
All right, thank you. All right. So, anybody else have any comments or anything? Anybody online?
I'll just say one thing. I mean, there's not a requirement that we have a consensus on voting for approval and not approval. Right? You could just say, no, I don't like the awnings, right? And then, just, that's fine.
Right.
So don't feel like you need to approve something as a consensus. This body's not meant to be always have consensus. That's all I'd say.
I understand. Thank you for
Yeah, that's a good
clarifying.
point, Dan. There's been a lot of times where, it's been, by one vote moves on or doesn't move on, on different projects. So Dan has a great point. If you don't like something, don't think you have to say yes because you're holding something up. Okay.
May I make a point of order, just a clarification on the code provision?
Mhm.
I think that the code provision can be read a couple different ways. One is that it says front porches are allowed on new construction, and then it says no front porch shall be added to a structure if there was not one originally, and then existing front porches shall not be enclosed or enlarged. Alterations to existing front porches. I think it's reasonable to read that the first sentence applies to new construction and that all the other ones apply to additions to existing structures. And so in other words, because this is a new structure, a porch is allowed.
Isn't this an addition to an existing structure?
It's a change of occupancy.
I mean, it's effectively like, you can read it as a new structure because it's not a barn anymore. It's now
Yeah,
an
it wasn't
ADU.
habitable.
But
Yeah.
Steve, is all the language front?
Can you repeat that? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
repeat that, Dan?
Is the language in the code all specifies front porch, front porch? Is it all front?
Right.
So is the south side the front?
I mean, I think at some point, like this code probably has not been updated in quite some time, and so
Right.
it's not looking at it. And again, to be clear, I'm not disagreeing with your interpretation of it. I'm just posing that I think that should you wish to support the application, there's latitude to find that it does comply with the criteria.
Right.
But I think there could be an argument made that the north side's the front. It has the easement access that's new. Right? The south side, for all intents and purposes on the site plan, looks like it's facing to
Yeah.
the back.
Sure.
I don't know. Just take whatever you want.
Technically, the west side is the front. Technically, because that's the site that is the property off of 13. So you have a good point, Dan. Normally, when we do projects on existing structures, we look at what it looks like from the street side. This property can be viewed from 3 streets. So it's a little different. Okay. If there's no other questions, oh, you had a question. Sorry, John.
This is in this discussion here, if I'm remembering it right, the south elevation is the one that's Tualatin. As you're coming up, that's the one you're seeing?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got that right. Again, this is not well, we can maybe talk about it. If you do put the front there, I'm kind of with you, is front doesn't strike me that would face Tualatin.
Right.
As a practical matter, if I were building a house, I wouldn't put the front of the house facing 12th or Tualatin. And the south side. So potentially and you can convince me that this doesn't make sense, I would put it on the opposite side or suggest that it be moved on the north side. I would think elevation wise would work better, as well as the amount of, if the attempt is to maintain the character of the building, the vast majority of people are going to see the south side as they drive by. And so I think changing that to make it an entrance is going to most materially alter the perception of that. That to me says, oh, it's a house now. Whereas if it were on the other side, and again, I can't dictate your design, but it's on the other side, it's going to be, well, the neighbors will see it, of course. But I think that will help preserve the nature of it looking like a barn. Yes, we are changing the function, but if we're going to call this a new dwelling, at that point, the argument to keep it looking like a barn is done. It's like, oh, I'm going to build a new house and make it look like a barn. No, I'm changing a barn into a house. So our effort is, I think, to make it continue to look like a barn as much as possible. Converting, I'm not opposed to converting it, because just an empty barn sitting there is not as useful as an ADU is. And you can just nod your head. You said your mother or your mother was going to move into it, which I think is a fabulous use for something like this. So I'm not opposed to that, but I'm saying, okay, because I drive Tualatin fairly often. I'm going, that will really strike me. Having a front porch and presumably parking, something like that
There'll be no
there.
parking.
Well, okay,
Yeah,
that's
they
what, that
can't-
was my next point.
No,
I
they
don't
can't
know
park.
where you would park
You
there.
can't park on that road.
Yeah, so having
yeah.
that as the front of the building seems problematic at best, and will be the greatest, whoa, that's not a barn anymore. Now,
sorry.
my last remark is, I don't know what the north side, what it would take to put it on the north side. Maybe I'm describing something that would be utterly impossible, but it seems that would be doable. Okay, I'm done harping on that.
I just want to say, I like where the front door is currently positioned, because it was where there was a door. So even if nobody knows that, it's just kind of nice to kind of be in keeping with the openings that were there. And especially since it'll be used by a family member, it might be confusing for, like, I don't know, the mailman to find the front door, but since your family member will know, then I think that that's nice.
Yeah.
Clement, Mr. Walsh?
Yeah.
You need to be speaking into
Come
the
up to that.
microphone.
Yeah, so if you're on the lot, on the front door, it currently is on the east side.
Sorry, let me stop. Can you pull up
On the east side, yeah.
the site plan? So while he's talking, everybody
Yeah,
can see
yeah.
what it is. Okay.
So the east elevation, it was there.
And
So,
just
yeah,
a-
so the
just
front
a-
door-
Can I interject just a quick point of order? Sorry to interrupt you, sir. I just wanted to have you just reopen the hearing.
Yeah,
book
we're gonna
again,
have to- we're gonna have to
Because
reopen.
you're providing testimony,
Yep.
and
Oh,
I want you to be able to do so.
Yep. So.
And then just close it after. Thank you, Acting Chair Manning.
All right, I am going to reopen HRD 25-3, Class 2 Design Review at 1225 13th Street. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Suppose, yeah, and just giving reason why we choose keep the door on the east side and suppose I have the same, I'm thinking as the architect here that there was existing door there. So it makes sense in my mind that that would be still be the main entrance into the barn. But it also works well with Jody's Carson's layout of her house because her front door faces east too. So when you're standing in the lot, they do look like that's, you know, the natural entrance to the building because the neighboring property, you enter that way too. If you put it on the west side, you're just up against the kind of chain link railing and your neighbor. You're just on top of your neighbor where that entrance, again, my training is landscape architecture, and we have greater plans to kind of develop that lot into a garden. So my thinking is when you walk out that side of the house too, you would walk into planters, vegetables, you know, more of a garden setting. Where if it was placed at the west side, you come out the door and you're up against your neighbor. Yeah. And it's opposite to where the other houses are facing at the moment when you stand in that lot with looking at the barn. Yeah.
Okay.
So may I ask a question? So based on what you're saying there, if we say, oh, the east side would work in your eyes, that then the east side as a
Yeah,
as
east
the
side,
front
that's the
entrance?
way we're proposing it. So that's where it does work. In my mind, right, the east elevation is where the front door is.
On the picture, the south side shows the awning and the door and everything. That's
That's a patio to the side of the house.
Yeah. Have to have that for egress also.
Yeah, there's two awnings.
Yep.
Two
One's on the east.
Oh,
Facing
okay.
the wall, small to
By
the
the
wall.
looks of that, okay, I was
Yeah.
interpreting that as the front.
That's
of
that's
the
the front. That is more.
But that's-
you're coming out of your living space. You're going out to a patio. You're kind of enjoying your lot. It's not It's not.
Oh,
an
okay.
entrance.
Because yeah, I totally get the idea of an awning for a front entrance.
Yeah.
I'm not compelled to believe I have to have a huge awning
Mhm.
if it's the back of the building and it's really just an extra exit to get out of the building. So it's a safety issue as well. Okay. As you can sense, I'm saving the south side, I think that's going to maintain the sense of, oh, it's the fact you're using it is great. So at any rate, maybe looking at not having an awning or significantly reducing the size again. Yeah, and you're going to match the neighborhood stuff. You aren't going to build some 21st century. I'm presuming you're not going to make it look like a modern house today.
No, keep it as a barn.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff or the applicant at this point? All right, so I'm going to close the hearing again. All right, so then we'll go back to deliberations that got us here, and we have three options here. We can motion to approve, and that would be I motion to approve HRD 25-3 as presented and direct staff to prepare final decision and order based on the findings of today's meeting. Or option two, motion to approve with conditions. Okay, and so far we haven't really talked about any conditions. There was a couple in the staff report. And option three is a motion to deny. So at this point, do I have a motion based on those three?
I make a motion to approve.
That would be option one.
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you. Lynn, you should roll call.
Commissioner Salty.
We're not going to discuss.
Oh,
That's what we did up here at deliberations.
Oh,
yes.
Usually if there's a motion on the table, you need to.
yeah.
You
Okay.
just made a motion, you can discuss it, but I thought.
That's what I'm saying. This was just a motion. We're saying, yeah, let's do it. Now we go to deliberative like if we want to impose conditions. That's my understanding.
Do you want to take away your second?
Huh?
So that would be so there's a motion on the table.
Right.
We either have to approve or deny this motion at this point. And the motion on the table is option one, a motion to approve without conditions.
Oh, then I remove my second.
When there's a motion on the table, Steve, correct, and Lynn, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we could talk about it, right? As long as there's not a second.
You
No,
can,
no.
if there's a motion and a second, yes, you
You
can talk
talk
about it.
Exactly.
And then you can call the roll.
Yeah.
So you can talk about the motion, but Member Steele just withdrew his second, so now there is not a motion.
There's not a
There's
motion.
Another second.
Yes.
So now we need a new motion or another second for the original motion.
Or
Can I just ask a question between that?
Yeah,
So on Jim's motion, is that to add the conditions of approval that staff is asking for, including the lighting and including the planning department going out and verifying what's been
no.
designed? No.
No, so he did option one, motion to approve without any conditions. If we want to add those conditions with the lighting and what staff talked about and what you talked about earlier, that would be option number two.
Sorry, just if I can, sorry, I keep interjecting points
Yep,
of
go
order
ahead.
here, but option one is intended to read that it would include the conditions of approval in the
Okay.
staff report, and that option two would be for the board to consider adopting additional conditions of approval. And then three would be denial. And so I apologize if the motion that you have is written in error, but that was the intent of the three
Okay.
options.
Okay. All right. So let me back up and let's clarify this. The option one that Jim put out would be as written by staff and staff's conditions. Option two is if we wanted to add other conditions. Option three is to say no. Okay. All right. Clear as mud. All right. So Dan, to your question, option one is the viable option based off of your earlier questions and the staff's report on lighting and such.
I'll second Jim's motion.
All right. Thank you. So at this point, do we have any questions or deliberations we'd like to do on option one?
What deliberations? Option one is to approve with their options, not to discuss additional options.
Right?
Okay.
That's 100% correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
All right. So if there aren't any deliberations or any other questions, we'll call roll.
I will call the roll. So, Member Edwards. Can you press your red button?
I approve.
Okay. Member Salty,
Yes.
Member Bogard,
Yes.
Member Rohrbacher.
I'm saying it weird too now. Approve.
Member Steele,
No.
Acting Chair Manning.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes, 5 yeas, 1 nay.
All right. All right. All right. So we'd like to thank everyone who testified tonight. Your comments have been helpful. Thank you very much. Well, if you'd like to appeal this decision to the Planning Commission, you must file an application with the Community Development Department within 14 days of the mailing of the final decision. Okay. All right. So the next thing on the agenda is items of interest from the board members. Anybody have any items of interest? No? Okay. Staff announcements. You were in the middle of those, I think, when we started.
Thank you, Acting Chair Manning. So that was my only announcement was about the Bolton's Primary School National
Okay.
Register nomination. I guess the next announcement would be that we are considering another historic design review. We haven't decided the date, but that looks like it might be coming up in August. Is that correct, Aaron? Yeah, so another one, so we'll probably need another meeting in August. And so my question to you is, does the second Wednesday of the month work for the members who are present right now? Or no?
All depends on the Wednesday.
All depends on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
Alternatively, the city council usually does not meet in August, so we could go to the third Tuesday, which is our historic
Date.
meeting,
Yeah.
historic review board meeting. We could go to the the third Tuesday of August, if that works, at 6 p.m. But I will actually, if I could get some initial feedback from you today, that'd be great, and then we can poll you and, because I don't think that, the actual we haven't sent out the actual notice yet, because, I don't know if it's at that stage yet, so.
So tentatively, August 18th, I will be in town, so.
You will be?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Any other announcements? Aaron? No? Nope. All right, well, thank you very much for coming tonight, and we will see you next month.
All right.
Right?
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, James, for running it.
Thank you. Good luck, Dan.
Thank you.
Baseball.
Lynn?